My name is Emily Thompson. I am 30 years old. 2 years ago, my sister-in-law, Lauren, stood up at our family reunion and announced to 25 relatives that my husband's ex-wife was a sharp corporate executive, while I was just the woman who cleaned houses for a living, and everyone laughed like it was the best joke. That planted the seed of resentment that has grown into something toxic. Now, as we stand in the middle of the crowded emergency room, after my husband twisted his ankle badly at a company event, my sister-in-law is telling the doctor and everyone within earshot that I should focus on my little cleaning gigs instead of stressing my husband with my ambitions to expand my business into commercial contracts. My hands are shaking, but my mind is crystal clear. This is the moment I stop letting her define me and start protecting my future. If you have ever had a family member who made you feel small in front of strangers while your partner just stood there, drop a comment below and tell me what you would have done in that exact second. I read every single one. That emergency room moment was not the beginning. It was the point where everything I had been swallowing for 3 years finally refused to go down anymore. Let me take you back so you can see exactly how my sister-in-law, Lauren, turned our marriage into her personal stage for tearing me down one casual, vicious comment at a time. I met my husband at a client's backyard barbecue in a quiet suburb outside Charlotte, North Carolina. I was 28, then running my own one-woman residential cleaning service with 11 steady clients and a beat-up Chevy Equinox that still smelled like pine air freshener even after the little tree had dried up. My husband sold medical imaging equipment, wore nice shirts, and had this easy laugh that made you forget you were still wearing cleaning gloves when you shook his hand. 3 weeks later, he introduced me to his family at a casual cookout at his parents' place. That is when I first met my sister-in-law, Lauren Hargrove, my husband's older sister, 42 years old, regional marketing director for a big bank downtown. She had the kind of sharp blonde bob and confident stride that made people assume she ran the room before she even opened her mouth. She looked me up and down that first afternoon, smiled, the kind of smile that does not reach the eyes, and said, "So you're the new one who scrubs floors for a living." How charming. My husband laughed like it was just sisterly teasing. I smiled too because that is what I did back then. I smiled so hard my jaw hurt. The first year of marriage was a slow drip of those comments. We bought a 3-bedroom ranch on a quiet cul-de-sac in Matthews with a mortgage payment of $2,150 a month. My husband insisted on handling all the bills himself. He said his first marriage had left him financially wrecked. My sister-in-law loved bringing his ex up. Every Sunday dinner at my mother-in-law's house, my sister-in-law would lean across the table and say things like, his ex always knew how to host a proper dinner party without worrying about dust bunnies. Some women just have that natural polish. My mother-in-law would nod and pass the potatoes without looking at me. I was the one clearing the dishes every single time. I told myself it was harmless. My sister-in-law had always been protective of her little brother, but the small violations kept coming, each one a little sharper. One afternoon, I was at my newest client, lead a dental office on the edge of town that could have doubled my monthly income if the contract went through. The office manager left me a voicemail with the details. I never got it. When I finally called back weeks later, they had already hired someone else. The manager sounded confused. "We left a message on the number your husband gave us when he called to confirm the appointment." I asked my husband about it that night. He shrugged and said he had just been trying to help. My sister-in-law was standing right there in our kitchen dropping off a casserole from my mother-in-law. She laughed and said, "Oh, Emily, you get so worked up over these little side projects. My brother is just looking out for you, so you do not bite off more than you can chew. Some of us have real careers that require focus." She said it with her hand on my husband's shoulder like she was the one married to him. He did not correct her. That was the first time I felt the ground shift. But I still smiled. I still cleaned the house until it sparkled. I still made sure my stepdaughter, Sophia, my husband's 14-year-old daughter from his marriage to his ex, had her favorite snacks when she came for weekends. Sophia was quiet around me at first, earbuds in eyes on her phone. But she started leaving her room a little longer each visit. One Saturday, she asked me to help her organize her school binder. We sat at the dining table, and I showed her a simple spreadsheet for tracking her babysitting money. She actually smiled when I explained compound interest. It was the first time in months I felt like I belonged somewhere in that house. My sister-in-law found out about the spreadsheet. Of course she did. She showed up unannounced the next weekend with her husband Ryan and their son Tyler in tow. She saw the laptop open and said, loud enough for Sophia to hear from the hallway, "Emily, honey, you really should not be filling that girl's head with your little organizing hobbies. His ex is the one who understands money and success. Maybe Sophia should ask her mother instead of the maid." Sophia's face went blank. She closed the laptop, muttered, "Never mind," and disappeared into her room. I stood there with the dish towel in my hands, feeling like someone had punched me in the stomach. That night, I called my best friend, Tara. Tara runs a mobile pet grooming business and has zero tolerance for nonsense. She listened to the whole thing and said, "Emily, she is systematically erasing you. Every time she opens her mouth, she reminds everyone you are the cleaning lady and his ex is the prize. Your husband lets her because it is easier than standing up to his big sister." I told Tara she was exaggerating. I was still in the phase where I made excuses for everyone. The violations kept stacking up like dirty laundry I could not quite get clean. My business Facebook page stayed at 43 followers, while my sister-in-law posted about her latest promotion and tagged the whole family. My husband never once liked or shared anything I posted. My sister-in-law, however, loved commenting on my rare updates with things like "cute side hustle" or "bless your heart for trying." Each comment felt like a paper cut I could not explain to anyone else. Then came the password change on our joint accounts. I needed the insurance policy number for the Equinox renewal. My husband's laptop asked for a new password. When I casually mentioned it, he snapped, "You sound exactly like his ex, always checking up on everything." My sister-in-law was there, again, of course, picking up Sophia for a sleepover at my mother-in-law's. She jumped in before I could answer. Some wives just cannot let a man handle things. His ex learned that the hard way. I started noticing other things. A credit card statement for a boat slip at a marina 2 hours away slipped out of a drawer one morning while I was tidying. My husband never mentioned owning a boat. When I asked, my sister-in-law happened to call at that exact moment. I heard him on speakerphone tell her, "Emily is getting suspicious again. Just like I told you." My sister-in-law's voice came through clear and cold. "Handle it. She does not need to know about your hobbies. Keep her focused on the floors and the laundry where she belongs." That was the first time I felt real fear mixed with the anger. But I still did not confront anyone. I was too busy proving I was not the problem. I picked up 2 more residential clients. I landed a small commercial contract with a chiropractor's office that paid $800 a month extra. I told my husband over dinner, practically vibrating with excitement. He chewed his food, looked at his phone, and said my sister-in-law had mentioned a great new dry cleaner I should try for his work shirts. The subject changed before I could finish my sentence. The emergency room incident was the final straw that snapped the camel's back in half. My husband had twisted his ankle playing flag football at the company picnic. We were waiting for x-rays when my sister-in-law swept in like she owned the place. She had driven straight from a work meeting still in her power suit. While the doctor was explaining the sprain, my sister-in-law turned to me in front of the entire waiting area and said, "Emily, you need to stop pushing my brother to support your little empire. He has enough stress without you turning a hobby into a full-time distraction." His ex never burdened him with that nonsense. The doctor looked uncomfortable. A nurse paused mid-charting. My husband stared at the floor. I felt my face burn, but I kept my voice steady. This is not the time or place. She laughed that brittle laugh. Oh, sweetie, it is always the time when someone needs to hear the truth. You are not built for big things. Stick to what you know. That was the moment the last grain of sand fell. I did not yell. I did not cry in front of her. I simply nodded, helped my husband to the car, and drove us home in silence. But inside my head, the decision had already been made. I was done letting my sister-in-law rewrite my entire identity every time she opened her mouth. The next 3 weeks, I moved on autopilot. I kept the house running. I kept smiling at family dinners. But every Tuesday and Thursday after my last client, I would swing by Tara's garage and drop off another box of my things. Clothes, my grandmother's recipe cards, the good cast iron skillet that had been mine before the wedding. Tara never asked questions until the 3rd trip. Then she just said, "You know where the spare key is. Stay as long as you need." I opened a new checking account at a credit union across town. Every invoice from my cleaning clients started routing there instead. My monthly income was sitting at $3,800 and climbing. I called the chiropractor's office myself and confirmed they still wanted to expand to twice a week. They did. I felt the first real spark of something that was mine again. My sister-in-law kept the pressure on. She texted my husband almost daily with little reminders about how his ex had always kept a spotless house without turning it into a business. She started inviting Sophia over more often, filling her head with stories about how successful women balanced career and family. Sophia started looking at me differently. One evening, my sister-in-law showed up at our door with my mother-in-law and a tray of banana bread that could make you forget your own name. While my husband was in the shower, she cornered me in the kitchen. "You know, Emily, my brother has been through enough with his ex. He does not need another woman who puts her ambitions first. Some of us were raised to support our men, not compete with them." Her voice was sweet as the banana bread, but her eyes were ice. I did not answer. I just kept wiping the counter. But that night, after everyone left, I sat at the kitchen table with my phone in my hands and the house quiet around me. I was not angry anymore. Anger is loud. This was cold and clear. The thermostat had finally clicked off. Monday morning, my husband kissed me on the forehead and left for work at 7:15. I counted to 60 after his car pulled out of the driveway. Then I walked to the garage, opened the gray storage bin he thought I never touched, and pulled out the folder I had quietly copied weeks earlier. The boat title. The credit card statements totaling $23,000 in his name alone. The divorce papers showing he had represented himself and his ex had walked away with almost nothing because she just wanted out. My sister-in-law had known about the boat the whole time. She had been the one encouraging him to keep it hidden so he could play the victim. She had been the one deleting voicemails and steering conversations so I would stay small. She needed me small so she could keep being the one who knew best. I loaded the last box into the Equinox. I left the key on the kitchen counter next to my husband's favorite coffee mug. No note, no scene. I locked the door and drove away. The drive to Tara's place felt like the longest 20 minutes of my life, but it was also the freest. I pulled into her driveway, unloaded the last boxes into the garage, and let myself in with the spare key she'd given me weeks earlier. Tara was out with her mobile pet grooming van, but she had left a note on the kitchen counter saying the guest room was mine for as long as I needed it, and that there was fresh coffee in the pot. I sat down on the edge of the bed and let out a breath I had been holding for 3 years. Then the phone started ringing. It was my husband first. I let it go to voicemail. The text messages followed in a flood. My sister-in-law called next. I made the mistake of picking up on the 3rd ring. Her voice came through sharp and sweet at the same time. "Emily, what in the world do you think you are doing? Leaving my brother like this without a single word after everything he has done for you? You are supposed to be the supportive one, not some flighty woman who runs when things get real." His ex would never have pulled something this selfish. I stayed quiet for a second too long. She took that as permission to keep going. "You know, he has been through enough with his first marriage. And now you are just going to abandon him. And that poor girl Sophia does not deserve this kind of instability from the one person who was supposed to be steady. Stick to what you know, Emily. The cleaning and the little side gigs. Leave the real life to people who can handle it." I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clearer than it had been in months. I opened my laptop right there on Tara's guest bed and rerouted every single client payment to the new account I had set up at the credit union. My monthly income had already climbed to $4,200 with the new commercial contract I had quietly secured the week before. I was not going back. Not this time. Tara came home that evening and did not ask for details. She just hugged me hard and said, "You did the right thing. I have been waiting for you to see it." We sat at her kitchen table, drinking coffee, while I told her the whole story about the hidden boat, the deleted voicemail, and how my sister-in-law had been feeding my husband the narrative that kept me small. Tara listened without interrupting, then said she knew a family attorney named Beth Caldwell, who specialized in straightforward divorces without the drama. I called Beth the next morning and set up a consultation for the following week. Beth was direct no-nonsense and told me over the phone that the prenup my husband had printed off the internet would not hold up in any courtroom worth its salt. The next few days were a blur of quiet moves and ringing phones. My mother-in-law left 3 voicemails, each one sounding more confused than the last. My husband showed up at Tara's door once, but Tara handled it at the front step and sent him away without letting him see me. Sophia texted me late one night, "I don't understand why you left. My aunt says you got tired of us." My stomach dropped when I read it. I typed back carefully, "I love you, kiddo. This was not about you. I needed to choose myself for once." She did not reply. My sister-in-law was not done. She started a group text with my husband, my mother-in-law, and even Ryan that somehow included me. The first message was classic her. "Family, we need to talk about Emily. She has always been more focused on her little cleaning empire than on supporting my brother the way a wife should. His ex understood balance. Emily never did. We have to help my brother through this." I read it 3 times and felt the old familiar twist in my chest. But I did not respond. I screenshotted it and sent it to Beth instead. I picked up 2 more residential clients that week and expanded the chiropractor contract to 3 days a week. The extra money meant I could afford the 1-bedroom apartment Tara had found for me above a quiet dry cleaner in a neighboring suburb. I signed the lease on a Wednesday afternoon. The landlord, a no-nonsense woman named Karen, who had her own small accounting business, looked at my bank statements and smiled. "Good for you, hon. Starting fresh is never easy, but it beats staying stuck." Karen became the first new person in months who saw me as more than just the maid my sister-in-law loved to remind everyone I was. The pressure kept building. My sister-in-law called again 2 days later this time while I was driving to a cleaning job. I answered on speaker because part of me wanted to hear what she would say next. "Emily, you are making a huge mistake. My brother is devastated. Sophia is asking questions I do not know how to answer. You owe this family more than sneaking out like some thief in the night. His ex may have had her issues, but at least she had the decency to fight for the marriage instead of running away to play business owner." Her words landed like little knives, each one aimed at the exact spots she knew would hurt. I pulled over into a parking lot and listened without speaking until she finally ran out of steam. "You finished?" I asked when the line went quiet. She laughed, that brittle laugh I had heard 1,000 times. I am just getting started. You think you can just walk away and keep your little clients and your little life? We will see about that. Family sticks together, Emily. And right now, you are the one tearing us apart. I hung up and sat in the car for a long minute with my forehead against the steering wheel. The anger was still there, but underneath it was something colder. Acceptance. I was never going to be enough for them. No matter what I built or how hard I tried, my sister-in-law would always see me as the woman who cleaned houses and nothing more. Beth's office was above a sandwich shop in a small commercial strip near the highway. I met her that Friday with a folder full of the copied documents I had taken from the garage bin before I left. She flipped through them quickly, shaking her head. This is textbook control. The boat alone changes everything about the financial picture he painted. We can file without drama if you want it quiet. I told her quiet was exactly what I wanted. No revenge. Just out. That same evening, my stepdaughter sent another text. My aunt says I should not talk to you anymore. She says you left because you never really cared about my dad or me. My heart cracked a little, but I did not cry. I replied with the truth. I cared about you from the first day. That has not changed. Your aunt has her own reasons for saying what she says. I did not hear back. The final straw came on a Sunday afternoon. I was unpacking the last box in my new apartment when my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. It was Ryan, my sister-in-law's husband, sounding uncomfortable. Then my sister-in-law took over the line directly. Emily, this has gone on long enough. You do not get to just disappear and act like none of us matter. Show up next Saturday at my mother's house, or we will have to explain to everyone exactly why you walked out on a man who gave you everything. Her tone was pure venom wrapped in concern. Some women are built for the big leagues, Emily. Others are better off staying in their lane. You picked the wrong lane when you married my brother. Fix it before you lose more than you already have. I listened to every word, then said the only thing I had left to say. I am done fixing things for other people. Tell my husband the papers will be coming from my attorney. And tell Sophia I will always be here if she wants to talk, but I am not coming back to that table. I hung up before she could fire back. The apartment was quiet except for the low hum of traffic outside. I sat on the couch with my phone in my lap and realized this was it. The boundaries were drawn. The family I had tried so hard to belong to was on the other side of a line I had finally stopped crossing. But the silence that followed felt heavier than I expected. No victory parade, no dramatic showdown. Just me, the new key on my ring, and the growing knowledge that choosing myself might mean sitting in this quiet apartment alone for a long time. The message that came next was short and unmistakable. It came from Sophia. My aunt says I should block you because you never really cared about any of us. She says you left my dad to chase your cleaning business like it was more important than family. Is that what happened? I stared at the screen for a long minute. The words carried my sister-in-law's voice so clearly. I typed back carefully, keeping it honest but short. I left because I needed to stop being made to feel small every single day. That has nothing to do with how much I care about you. You can reach out anytime if you want to talk, but I understand if your aunt makes that hard. I hit send and set the phone down before I could second-guess myself. 30 seconds later, it rang again. My sister-in-law. Emily, you have some nerve texting my niece. After everything you have put this family through, my brother is barely holding it together. Sophia is confused and hurt. And here you are, acting like your little cleaning gigs are some big, important career that justifies abandoning everyone. His ex, at least, had the decency to fight for the marriage, instead of sneaking out like a thief. You were supposed to be the steady one, not this selfish woman who puts her ambitions above her husband and his daughter. I let her finish the first wave without interrupting. When she finally took a breath, I said, "This is not about Sophia or my husband anymore. This is about the years of comments that made me feel like I was never enough. The deleted voicemails, the hidden boat, the way you always made sure everyone knew I was just the maid compared to his ex. I am done. She laughed. Oh, please. You're rewriting history to make yourself the victim again. I was only trying to help my brother after his ex nearly destroyed him. You never understood what it meant to support a man who has been through real hardship. Some women are built for the big leagues, Emily. Others are better off staying in their lane with their mops and their spreadsheets. You picked the wrong lane when you married into this family, and now you're tearing it apart because you cannot handle the truth. Her words landed exactly where she wanted them to. I felt the old familiar burn in my chest, but underneath it was something new and steady. Clarity. I am not tearing anything apart. I am choosing myself for the first time. If that means the family cannot accept me as I am, then I guess we are done here. Tell my husband the papers will be coming from my attorney. And tell Sophia I will always be here if she wants to talk without the commentary. But I am not coming back to that table. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I did not cry. I opened my laptop instead and emailed Beth the last of the documents she had asked for. The prenup was as worthless as Beth had predicted, and the hidden boat and credit card debt shifted the entire financial picture. We filed the paperwork quietly the next morning. No big court scene, no public showdown, just the slow legal unraveling of the life I had tried so hard to fit into. The weeks that followed were quieter than I expected. My business kept growing. I added 3 more residential clients and expanded the chiropractor contract to 4 days a week, pushing my monthly income to $5,100. Karen started referring small office clients my way after she heard what had happened. Good for you, she said one afternoon when I dropped off the rent check. Starting over is hard, but staying stuck is harder. Her words felt like the first genuine support I had received in a long time from someone outside my old circle. Tara checked in every few days, bringing coffee or takeout, but even she could see I was pulling back a little. I was grateful for her, but I needed space to figure out who I was without constantly proving I was enough. My mother-in-law sent one final voicemail, her voice tired and confused. Emily, I wish you had talked to us instead of just leaving. My daughter says you were never happy here anyway. I deleted it without replying. I had already said everything I needed to say. Sophia never answered my last text. A week later, I got a short message from an unknown number that I knew was her new phone. My aunt says it is better if we do not talk right now. She says, you made your choice. That one stung more than any of my sister-in-law's phone calls. I stared at it for a long time, then typed back, I understand. The door is always open if you change your mind. I did not hear from her again. My husband tried one last time. He showed up at the dry cleaner downstairs one evening, looking smaller than I remembered asking Karen if he could come up. She texted me first. I told her no. When he called later, I answered just long enough to say, I am not coming back, and I am not going to keep explaining why. Take care of yourself and Sophia. He did not argue. He just sounded tired. My sister-in-law sent one more group text to the family thread that still somehow included me. Some people cannot handle being part of a real family. We will move forward without the drama. I screenshotted, sent it to Beth for the file, and then muted the thread permanently. I did not respond. There was nothing left to say. The apartment stayed quiet after that. No more surprise visits, no more Sunday dinners where I cleared the table while everyone else talked about his ex's latest success. No more texts asking why I could not just be happy with what I had. I painted the kitchen walls a soft yellow that my husband would have called tacky, hung my grandmother's recipe cards on the fridge, and kept the good cast iron skillet on the stove where it belonged. My business ran smoothly. Clients were happy. Money was steady, but the evenings stretched long and empty in a way I had not prepared for. I would sit on the couch after a long cleaning day with a cup of tea and realize this was the trade-off. I had set the boundaries I needed, walked away from the constant erosion of who I was, and now I was sitting in the quiet I had chosen. No dramatic victory. No triumphant moment where my sister-in-law admitted she had been wrong. No tearful reunion with Sophia or my mother-in-law. Just me, the woman who cleaned houses for a living, and finally decided that was enough without anyone else's permission. It was lonelier than I thought it would be. Some nights I wondered if I had made the right call, if staying and shrinking myself would have been easier than this empty apartment and the silence where a family used to be. But then I would remember the emergency room, the deleted voicemail, the way my sister-in-law's voice always made me feel 2 inches tall. And I knew I could not go back. Choosing myself had cost me the illusion of belonging, but it had given me back the right to decide what my life looked like. I still check my phone sometimes, hoping for a message from Sophia. It never comes. My sister-in-law's name has not appeared on my screen in months. The family moved on without me, the way they always said they would. And I moved on too, one quiet morning at a time. Thank you for listening to my story. It still feels raw telling it, but it also feels necessary. If you have ever had a sister-in-law who made you feel like you were never quite enough, no matter what you built, and you finally chose to walk away, even though it left you sitting alone in a new place with no one calling to check on you, drop a comment and tell me whether you would have stayed longer or done exactly what I did. I read every single one, and I know I am not the only one who has lived this.